Hello and welcome to our Mulberry Talent Partners career conversation. I'm going to give participants just another little bit to start logging on. Okay, it looks like people are successfully rolling in. So welcome again to our Mulberry Talent Partners career conversation. We're so glad to have you here today. I'm Laura Back. I'm the Director of Marketing and Events at Mulberry. Just a little bit about us. We are a full service staffing and recruiting agency headquartered in Portland, Oregon, with an office in Silicon Valley. We specialize in the professional placement of human resources, professional and financial office, payroll, and operations positions for direct hire, temp to hire, and temporary positions. I would encourage you to check us out online at mulberrytalent.com, where you can see all of our previously recorded career conversations, leadership conversations, and upcoming conversations, as well as check out all of our career postings here in Oregon and also in California. Quick introductions today. We're pleased to welcome Lauren Francis, who is our fabulous founder and president. Lauren founded Mulberry Talent Partners in June of 2017, bringing over 25 years of talent acquisition experience. And we're so pleased to welcome Stacy Lane today. Stacy is a certified career coach and career consultant who today will be talking about how to leverage LinkedIn and build your personal brand as a job seeker. We want today to be very interactive, so please feel free to use the Q&A function here on Zoom, and we will do our best to answer any and all questions that come in. So without further ado, I'm going to go on ahead and pass it over to Lauren and Stacy.
Welcome, everyone. Hi, Stacy. Thank you so much for joining us today. Stacy and I met through networking and referrals and have been connected for the last couple of years. And so Stacy joined us live when we used to do that. It was last year, I believe. When we used to host these conversations at our office. And it was a great presentation. It was very helpful to so many. And we're here today welcoming Stacy to share her wisdom, advice, and experience with all of us regarding LinkedIn and our profiles. So I'll turn it over to you, Stacy. Thanks again for joining us today.
Great, thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to go through and share with you a freakishly large amount of information in a short period of time about LinkedIn. And as I go through this, I'd like you to ask me questions, and I'm going to actually be demoing some of this to you on LinkedIn. I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn, early adopter of LinkedIn, but now I've been on LinkedIn since 2004. LinkedIn in the last 6 months has made a number of changes. I am a regular user of LinkedIn, but I go in and I see changes all the time. So I've picked out some of the most important changes that I think you need to know for building your personal brand on LinkedIn. I will talk too about, if you're trying to make a career pivot, this pandemic's been kind of interesting. And I've gotten a lot of clients that are like, I need to do something different. And I want to be able to use LinkedIn to do that. And so I'll show you some examples of how you might do that, or give you some ideas of how you might do that. So there's 4 main areas I'm going to talk about: visibility, how to raise your visibility on LinkedIn, how to stand out, no matter what your background is, whether or not you're an active job seeker, you're just kind of passive, some best practices and some tips for that. I want to share with you, like I said, what's new. And then if we have time, because I always get questions about it, people ask me, do I need a paid account for LinkedIn? And my short answer is usually no. But I'll show you what the advantages are of having a paid account. So I want to talk about visibility, and there's a couple of features that are new to LinkedIn that belong in this section. I want you to pay attention to completing your profile, and I'll talk about what that looks like. You want to reach what LinkedIn calls an all-star status, and there's 7 criteria that they use to evaluate whether or not your profile's at an all-star status. I'm going to give you a quick and dirty for that, and I'll show you when we take a look at a profile. The open to work feature is a new feature that you can set to show recruiters that you're open to work, or not just recruiters, but you can show everybody on LinkedIn that you're open to work. I personally am not a fan of it, but I want to show it to you and give you it's the option, and give you the option of whether or not you want to utilize it. But it's a new feature, and I'll talk about diversifying your network a little bit. LinkedIn likes diverse networks, and that means that not just people from your industry. So LinkedIn is a great tool if you are trying to make a pivot to be able to reach out to people that aren't in your industry, introduce yourself, and LinkedIn likes that because, again, it likes diverse networks. So if you don't have just people that you've worked with or people that have similar backgrounds to you, maybe because of a professional organization, but the wider your network. And when I say LinkedIn likes that, what LinkedIn does, I kind of think of it as like a big participation trophy. LinkedIn rewards you by returning you higher in the search results for all these little things that you do. And one of the big ones is LinkedIn rewards participation. So that it rewards having a complete profile, but it also rewards the participation, which on LinkedIn means that you're active and that you have an active network. And then the other thing to raise your visibility is I think there's a best practice to be following thought leaders that are in your field, and thought leaders. And again, if you want to do a pivot, follow thought leaders that are in that area that you want to pivot to, and use them not only to help you educate you about what's going on in that industry and give you some insider information, but potentially use them to help you network into those areas, maybe into companies that you're interested in, and use them as information resources. So it's just a best practice. So I'm going to take a little bit of a pause here, and I'm going to take a pause here. Yep, go ahead. Yeah.
Someone asked, why do you not care for or not super a fan of the open to work tab?
Okay, so I'm not a fan of that. I need to stop sharing my screen here for a second. Just, okay. Where am I? What am I doing? Here we go. Now I see it up here. Okay, sorry guys. I just changed the screen and it wasn't what I wanted it to be. So just give me a second here. I am not a fan of it because I think it screams desperation. And I'm not a fan of that. I think that what it looks like is here. So on my profile, if I go into my profile, for those of you that have never seen this open to work feature, it's right here. And by the way, I was just typing in all of these. I was doing some searches for a client and we were typing in these job titles. LinkedIn thinks I'm a little bit schizophrenic because it sees a lot of different things in my profile, but I'm going to edit this section and I'm going to go down to the very bottom. And if I click here and I say I'm open to share with all LinkedIn members this open to work, it adds this to my profile. It adds this banner to my profile. I don't like it. I think that I don't know that there's really any advantage to it. I also think that it can be a deterrent if people want to network with, if you want to network with people, if they see that open to work, they may be a little bit hesitant. I've had clients test it both ways, test having it on there and having it or not having it on there. And we actually don't see, we can't tell if there's any benefit to having it on there. So I think that, they are just testing it. It's a brand new feature. It's only been, I've only seen it maybe six weeks ago. It got rolled out to everybody. I usually get to test things beforehand, and I've had it for maybe 2 months now, but I'm not seeing any benefit to it.
Okay.
So if anybody has a different opinion, share it with me. I mean, I'm just sharing with you kind of some of the common things and some of the logic behind it. And then also now LinkedIn gives you the option if I can share with my network if I wanted to, that I was looking for work. So Again, I don't think that LinkedIn is just about looking for work. I think, truly it's a networking platform. So that's something that I wouldn't encourage people to just think of network or LinkedIn as a place to go to find jobs.
Mhm.
I think it's a great place to gather information. And that's why I personally wouldn't keep this open to work on my profile. Okay.
Mhm.
So that's where the open to work is. And then when I say that LinkedIn likes a diverse network, you're going to get networking recommendations by going under this My Network and looking to see how many other connections or other requests that people have. And then this section is also new. I was going to talk about this later, but I'll talk about it right now. This is online events. This is a new section in LinkedIn. It's under My Network, and it recommends online events that are happening. Hey, it's great for a job seeker. You can go there. Maybe there's some very specific to some specific interests that you have. It's a nice little feature, and you can view online events within the LinkedIn platform. So kind of like that feature. And of course, because so much is moving online, I think it's helpful. Okay, so I will share with you. Well, let's go back to my notes here. If I can, okay. Ah, sorry, I do not know what's happening. I think I might have too many. Is it possible that I might have too many windows open? I think I might have too many windows open and I'm not able to share what I want to share with you. Okay. Okay. All right. So that's the open to work feature that I was talking about. I will go back through and I'll share with you a little bit about what LinkedIn looks for in order to have a complete profile. But to stand out, pay attention to your headline, your background photo, because I'm going to assume that you all have a great photo that looks like you and isn't 20 years old. So the profile photo, I'm not talking about the profile photo of you. I'm talking about the background photo, and I'll show you. Saw it on mine. It's that cloud. It's the light bulb and the flow chart, kind of to demonstrate kind of brainstorming. Okay. That background photo is completely editable by you. Hashtags are new on LinkedIn. I love the hashtags on LinkedIn. It's a great way to narrow the conversation and what shows up in your news feed to really relevant content. And of course, you want to follow thought leaders, follow companies that you're interested in. And if you're following hashtags, you're following thought leaders, it's really going to help you reinforce that unique point of view that you have. That's a great branding. That's great for your personal brand. That's a great branding tool for you to really narrow the content that you're seeing.
Stacy, we had one question come in.
Yeah.
What about using a background design from your current employer?
I would need more information about that, but if it's the company's logo or something like that, unless you want to brand yourself to your current company, which some people do want to do, I would say I would probably suggest using something different other than just branding yourself. I recently worked with somebody that works at American Express. He used the American Express logo as his background, but he's not actively looking. It was on brand for him. So but I think that there are some better there's some better pictures. So this, after you look at a number of profiles, right, everybody start to look the same. So if there's something that you can just help to make it a little bit more visually interesting, I think it's a great idea to do that, and a background photo can help with that.
Just as a recommendation for people online, Canva is a really great resource if you wanted to design your own LinkedIn cover photo. It's super simple.
Yeah. Canva's a great resource. There's Pixabay, which is it's common. It's well, I used to be in the industry. I should know what this is. Collective Commons or whatever. It's not rights controlled images, and you can go
Creative
there and get
Commons.
an image. Yeah. Creative Commons. That's it. Yeah. Okay. So this is the about section. It used to be called the summary. It's now called the about section. It is actually 3,000 characters now. It used to be 2,000 characters. They just extended it. It's longer now. It's your opportunity. Again, if you are trying to do a pivot, it's an opportunity to tell your career story, to create a narrative about why you're doing what you're doing or why you're interested in a field, how you've gotten to where you are in your career. In my mind, it's kind of like a really great cover letter and a snapshot bio. And when you combine those two things, it gives you a real opportunity to, again, tell your story, fill in some blanks that somebody's not going to read through your entire profile and pull out all the bullet points. And it's a real nice, it can be a very nice narrative. Again, it highlights what's unique about you. It's not generic. Don't use generic language, but keep it pretty casual and conversational. We're social media, it's LinkedIn social media. So it should feel like I am literally sitting across the table from you, having a cup of coffee, and we're
Sure.
getting to know each other. That's the right tone about the about section. Now, the experience section, the about section, I don't know if you know this or not, but is actually not weighted that heavily in the LinkedIn algorithm in terms of where you appear in search results. So people that give you the advice of filling out the about section with a ton of keywords and making sure it's jam-packed, it's not legitimate advice because it doesn't weight that heavily in the algorithm. Now, we don't know exactly the secret recipe of LinkedIn's algorithm, but we experiment and we can kind of, there are several groups that I belong to where we try to figure out kind of how it's working. Now, what we do know is that the experience section on LinkedIn is weighted very heavily. In particular, job titles. So you want to make sure you've got your job titles nailed. If you're trying to do a pivot, think about the job titles in your that you're marketing yourself towards. And is there any way that you can make a parallel between your current job title or your most recent job title and your more aspirational job title? I'm not telling you to lie. I'm not telling you to be deceitful, but I'm just suggesting that you can have project manager, but then if the job title in the field that you're interested in is a little bit more specific, you can also extend your job title to include that information.
So another example would be, sometimes I suggest to people, if you are looking to go, let's use HR as an example. An HR coordinator
Yep.
is really functioning as a generalist. She's been in that role she's been in that role for 3 to 5 years. And so what I suggest they do is HR coordinator is their title, and then in parentheses,
Right.
role functions as a HR generalist.
Right.
Something like that. Okay.
Yep, exactly. Because how the LinkedIn algorithm works is it's going to weight that job title heavily. And you may not, if somebody's searching for a generalist rather than a coordinator, you're not going to appear as high in the search results. So yeah. And also we want people to be able to understand what you do. And if you get so specific to like your job title that's unique to your company or unique to your particular industry and it doesn't make sense to anybody else, you're missing the point, right? We don't want to have to, and the other thing is think about relevant projects and skills rather than these are my job duties, right? It's a lot easier to read and it's more illustrative. And LinkedIn, again, social media, I don't want to read everything that's in your resume. And again, if you're trying to do a pivot, it's a great opportunity to just capture what's relevant and how does it translate over to another area.
Yes, notable accomplishments and projects. Again.
Yeah.
People don't want all of that information. They don't read it, and it's
not
full. Yeah.
Yeah, I say projects and initiatives. You know, what was new? What were you doing that was, you know, something that's different or something that the company was trying to do? Those initiatives can be really great sources for content. Okay, now engagement, like I said, LinkedIn rewards participation. So we want to comment on posts. We want to join relevant groups. Although I think actually groups might be going away, but I mean, that's just my own thing. I mean, groups are not as prominent on LinkedIn as they were, and LinkedIn has really struggled with getting engagement around groups. So you'll see that it's not as prominent even on your own profile. But groups can be good for content and for to be able to pick up on what's the conversation going on. I always, whenever, you know, the question that you need to be able to answer for yourself is, what's the conversation going on in my industry or in the industry I want to be in or the company? What's the relevant conversation that's going on right now, and make sure you're plugged into that. So again, you know, we talked about diversifying your network, but that's another place for engagement. You know, LinkedIn rewards that. And then following companies that you're interested in is another way of increasing engagement. And it not only increases engagement, but it makes your news feed a lot more relevant. So what's open? I shared the open to work. I'm going to share something about job preferences. That's new on LinkedIn. They moved it, but also how it works with overlaying on your profile to create the job recommendations. I said that the events features new. I'll show you how hashtags work. And then these are the new reactions on LinkedIn. So it's a little, to me, it's a little Facebooky, but they have these new reactions on LinkedIn. So when you click that you like something, you have now these options, and they all mean something different. You can kind of tell what they mean. You know, caring, applause. I guess just to kind of, you know, make it more interesting the way that we're engaging with each other on LinkedIn. So let me. Yeah.
Before we go too far, we had some questions that came in, kind of going back to the profile section. So Michael, hi Michael, asks, should the about section be written in first person or third person? He's seen it done both ways.
Yeah. So our best practice is it should be written in first person. Third person feels very formal and actually kind of feels weird on LinkedIn because it's your profile. And then when I read it, Lauren is the founder of, it's a little weird. It's like you're talking about yourself. It's just weird. It's just weird. So keep it in first person. You can like your resume is first person, but unlike your resume, it's perfectly acceptable on your LinkedIn about section to use I statements. So, you know, make it personal, I think that's outdated advice anyway, but even on resumes, you know, what the heck, we want it to sound like a person, not a robot. So, but definitely, yeah, third person's weird.
Great. And then this person asks, how do you remove the years of employment? I see some profiles that don't have employment dates. They're looking to do this as a way to minimize the potential for ageism.
Yeah, so you can just go in and edit that information in your profile. Now there's a downside to doing that because LinkedIn uses that information to match people and to know how you might be connected to people, but you can absolutely go and take it out of your profile. All that you have to do is just delete that information on your profile, or delete the dates on your profile.
And then Jill asks, do you have tips on creating an online portfolio of work examples?
Yeah, so LinkedIn has some new suggestions for that. So let me go in and I'll show you. So for the person that just asked about how you would take off the dates of your resume, I'm going to go down. Now you all know that I'm in my profile right now. I'm editing my own profile. I'm going to go down to that section that has in here that allows me to edit it. And I'm going to go down here, and you can see that what I would have to do here is I would have to put in some fake dates in order to be able to delete it off of here. Because LinkedIn, again, tries to tie that information. You can hide, you can't hide, you can't okay, let me be more specific here. You can't hide the dates. You can't hide the dates on your profile, but you can leave them off.
Hmm.
So, and then the other question was about the portfolio. So up in the about section, and what you would do is you would add a featured section like I have here. And this is just some stuff like, it's really old. I probably should edit this. Surprisingly, people think I spend a ton of time in LinkedIn, and I really don't. I'm just super efficient. So this is a good reminder for me that I probably need to go and take out some of this information because it's pretty outdated now, right? Okay, so I'm going to click on this, and then it'll give you some, you can add some things, you can rearrange the order of them. LinkedIn gives you a lot of options here, but in your featured section, you can have work samples. You can have recently worked with a client that was part of a an annual report that was done as a video, and we added that to her LinkedIn profile because there was she was interviewed for like literally 5 seconds on the report, but it's nice talking about the projects that she's been involved in and the initiatives for the organization that she works for. So that's how you can add that as featured, or in the about section, you could potentially at the end of your about section add links to a portfolio. If you have a portfolio set up in a different program, you can add it there. And LinkedIn gives you even another option, is you can add a section to your resume that is accomplishments.
Hmm.
And you can add it under projects. You could add it as another section if you wanted to. This depends on where you want it to appear in your profile and how prominent you want it to be.
Do they have a section for technology? Is that in skills?
It's only under skills.
Okay.
Yep. And you can control all of the skills as they appear on your resume or as they appear on your LinkedIn. And that's a way, that's another way that I would suggest that you control your brand,
Right.
is in the skills section. And they have, you can take a skills quiz. That's fairly new. That's about a year old, that you can take a skills quiz and answer some questions.
Mm.
But here you'll see all of the skills and endorsements that I received. Now, endorsements aren't recommendations. Those are different. The endorsements just that I know about something. And so I go in about once a month and I change the order of these. So of course, I am a career counselor. I do career development. I do coaching. Those are all relevant skills. Those are my top 3 skills. So I leave those, but occasionally I'll move them around and you can just reorder them based on what you want your top skills. Now, 43 is a lot of skills. 43 is a lot of skills. I would probably, if it was a client, I would say get it down to about 20. Because 43 is a lot.
Okay.
Okay, hashtags. I love hashtags. How do we find hashtags? Just type a hashtag into the search bar.
Mm-hmm.
These are some that I was recently looking at. So COVID-19 is a great hashtag. There's a lot of really interesting comment, and there's like 1.2 million people following this hashtag. We are interested in COVID. How do I find other hashtags that I might be interested in? So I'm going to follow this. I'm going to follow that hashtag. It's interesting. And I'll click on these 3 dots up here and discover new hashtags.
Wow.
It'll take me to another field, another area where I can just pick the ones that I want to follow.
That's great.
Yeah, hashtags has really made a difference in really getting me good content in my news feed and stuff that I want to share and stuff that I want to comment on. So again, you think I spend a ton of time on LinkedIn? I just make the time that I'm there really worth it. So Okay, questions?
Okay. Let's see. Do we have any more questions, Laura?
Yeah, and there were some, we had quite a few come in, so I think some of them we'll put in a follow-up email just because we're running
Okay.
out of time. But I know one that came in is, how many years do you recommend going back on LinkedIn for your profile?
Great question. It's so dependent, but I would say 10 to 15
Mm-hmm.
on average. It's a very individual question. That's very hard. I would just say use a lot of discernment, use a lot of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it makes sense to go back further. It's for every rule, there's reasons why I would break that rule, but I would just say in general,
Okay.
10 to 15 years.
And then Marissa asks, should I list every job I've had, AKA waiting tables in between corporate jobs, just to show she's been consistent?
No, 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 no. And if anybody disagrees, give me, I just think it creates a lot of clutter and we would just want to read through things. And I think if anybody's evaluating, seriously, we are in the middle of a pandemic. If anybody's evaluating your profile and saying, no, she was unemployed for 6 months, they need to get a life and they need to focus on other things.
Oh, great. Very true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're at the end already. So I think we're going to have Stacy back in the future because obviously there's a lot to cover when it comes to LinkedIn and personal branding. So just quickly, these are upcoming career conversations. We have Dana Pratt on November 5th, who's going to be talking about why networking is important, not just in your job search, but throughout your entire career. And then we're going to have Kanika Tolver back. She was with us in August, and she's going to be talking about how to pivot your career. And then this, just in closing, is how to stay in touch with us, and then also how to stay in touch with Stacy. If there were some questions that we didn't get, I'll include those in a follow-up email to you early next week. We also will be sharing the recording to this. So if there's anything that you missed, you'll be able to watch it back. And just in closing, thank you for choosing to fly with Mulberry. We know you have a lot of options when it comes to webinars, and we really appreciate your time. So thank you, Stacy and Lauren, today for a very informative conversation.
Thanks everyone
Great.
for joining us.
Okay.
Stacy.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye everyone.